is going on, Colts Nation? No horsing around family. Zach Boyd back at it again. And as you all know by now, Indianapolis Colts have fired Frank Reich. I think about another 60 to 90 minutes later, interim head coach Jeff Saturday, as you see on the thumbnail here. Just want to hop on here real quick and get some initial thoughts. I thought the move to fire Reich was the right decision. Ultimately, I think the move to fire Reich and Ballard would be the right decision moving forward. You'd have to think the decision to go ahead and bring in Jeff Saturday is probably not a great sign for Chris Ballard. Feels like the last two, actually, I should say the last three major decisions have been made by Jim Irsay. The decision to bring in Sam Ehlinger and see what they got there, the decision to fire Frank Reich, and the decision to bring in Jeff Saturday, who you'd have to think that this didn't happen last night. There's been ongoing conversations, you would think. It's the nature of the beast, whether you like it, whether you don't like it. I don't know. An interesting angle I want you guys to all kind of ponder and think about. Jeff Saturday, not with any coaching experience at all. Could this be a situation where he gets to come in internally, see where we have the trouble at, used almost more of like a consultant role like he has been in the past, maybe even revert him back to a general manager? I'm not saying I'm for that. I'm just saying it just feels a little bit odd, that you would go the direction you went in. You had three candidates that you could have went with. You could have went with the younger guy, Ventrone. You obviously could have went with Gus Bradley. You could have went with Fox. Ultimately, I think you wanted a different look, a different scope. And it's unprecedented. Make no mistake about it. You just hired a guy who has no elite level head coaching experience at all. Now, he did play the game of football for several years. Obviously, he's knowledgeable about that. When you're dealing with an offensive line who's had so many troubles, well, that's what he did for a long time as an Indianapolis Colt Ring of Honor guy. And I don't know if it's a PR move or not. I don't know if this is something that, Jim Irsay thinks can stick. Interested in your thoughts, interested in your ideas. Who would you be looking at? Who's on your short list for head coaches? Who's on your short list for general managers if it comes to that? As we record this on a Monday afternoon around 4:32, about 3 hours before the press conference to introduce Jeff Saturday's interim head coach, question I want asked and hopefully answered is, what is Ballard's part in all of this? What does he see in this? What decision making do he have to do with this? Don't think it's a good thing for Chris Ballard moving forward, if I'm being honest. You hate seeing good people get fired from their jobs. At the end of the day, I think it was necessary in this case. I think the locker room had completely tuned out Frank Reich. They just didn't believe in the decision-making internally. And furthermore, I don't think they believe in the person who's put this team together. I think ultimately Chris Ballard will get fired at the end of the season. I think he will ride this thing out, barring just a miraculous, just incredible turn of events here. I don't think you're going to see Chris Ballard being the general manager. And I don't think that I want him making that decision when you have such a crucial draft in 2023 where you're going to have to acquire a future franchise level quarterback. And he's not been willing to do that. He's had many opportunities to maybe say, hey, I want to get in this mix and go out there and find my guy, make a big move, get some assets. He's refused to do it that way. He wanted to do it the unconventional way of going out there and getting an older, more veteran presence. He wanted to do it a little bit cheaper. And I think ultimately you get what you pay for in the world, and you get what you pay for in the NFL. And I think he went too cheap. I think he dumpster dived a little bit heavy. And he neglected positions that matter the most. When you talk about, you got to get somebody at edge, you got to have a left tackle, you got to have an elite quarterback. Wide receivers were a big deal. He did do a decent job at rectifying that over the last few years. That being said, it's not good enough. It's what have you done? And you are what your record says you are. And ultimately, when it's all said and done, when the season's over, he's probably going to be an under 500 general manager over 6 seasons, right about 500. And that's not very good. That's a good, large enough sample size for me and should be for you listening to know what you got as a general manager and know that what he's doing, you're not building a championship roster in the right way. There's some things that you could do better. Obviously, he's done some really good things in the draft, but there's so many different variables to being general manager. You got to be able to, work that draft, trade up, go get your guy. There are going to be years where you got to trade back and trade out, which he has done so many times, too many times. There got to be years where you use free agency. There got to be years where you trade at the deadline. You have to do every single one of those things. And if you put them all together and you do it the right way, you've got a competitive football team. And if you don't, and you just sit there on your hands and you wait for something like that to happen, well, then you don't have a competitive football team. That being said, we're going to find out. Jeff Saturday will be announced this evening as Indianapolis Colts interim head coach. Want to know your thoughts? Like it, love it, hate it. Who would you have? Who's on your short list? Who do we need to be talking about? Draft, coaches, general managers? Let us know, and we'll make these podcasts around you guys, and we'll all stay connected during these times of the season. Until then, guys, thank you so much.